So for someone doing like a normal, not trying to throw themselves around as quickly as possible playthrough, for the full game, how long would that reasonably take?
I'd probably say about maybe an hour and a half, dependent on, if they're new to VR or not.
Mm-hmm.
How much they explore.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because there's like a few of those extra rooms and stuff that we added in, and obviously this whole extra puzzle and stuff, like, and depending on the ending they get as well, we'll change that slightly too. But yeah.
What do you wish that you could have done if you had gotten this publisher funding? Like, what was the early... Yeah, what were the early plans that you had in mind? I'm sure there's a lot that could be said here.
I think
Paid voice actors.
That is, huge.
Mm-hmm.
That would have been great. But I think the biggest thing is just having the rest of the ship that we sort of intended. Because, we were going to have another big spacewalky section out the back of the ship and a whole nother room. And, like, you got to reheat the engines and all this sort of stuff. But, like, all of that sort of had to get trimmed off to then, scope it in. Reality sucks, but is what it is.
We had multiple endings planned for the game. More than two.
Yeah, we had. I think the initial plan was 3, and they all 3 of them varied in scale. But yeah, we had to drop one of them out, but we still wanted to have the consequence of like, okay, well, if you succeed, you do this. If you fail, you do this. Because that was like in the earliest design brief of sort of what we wanted. So yeah, we've kept that in, but it's much more toned down from sort of what we wanted. But yeah, like perfect world, the full ship, all the mechanics continuing to sort of scale up and get reused in different ways and stuff, and just adding in more world buildy sort of stuff. Like you have more ship, you have more stuff to put in the ship to then like make it feel more fleshed out. Like one of the things I would have loved is to have had like a room that you can sort of peer into but not really see, where you can just kind of see like a dude floating. Like, I know it's messed up, but it would have been like, hey, that's cool, like consequences of like what's happened and stuff like that. But yeah, just I'm a big sucker for like world building and details and stuff like that, just in any game. So like adding in as much of that as I can is like big for me. And yeah, like, that's my end of it, I guess.
Mark, is there anything else that you would like to have done?
He pretty much said it all. Right at the beginning, I mentioned paid voice actors. That was definitely one of those things that if we had the budget to do, to do that. Also, custom music and sound effects, because a lot are from just sound libraries that you can just pay for. Like, granted, with chopped and layered stuff to get the effect that we want. But yeah, in our budget, we definitely had planned an audio designer as well.
Marketing is the big one as well. Having like
marketing.
A budget for that would have been really great.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, like actually having someone who sort of knows more of what they're doing, sort of give us a hand with it all. Because currently it's just kind of me going on social medias and just kind of interacting. I've started looking at Reddit and stuff a bit more because like the community and stuff there is relatively active and stuff, and it's a learning experience for us as well, just in doing it all. So that's like what my next few months is going to be before release, is just kind of interacting with people, sending emails, and trying to get some visibility on it. So that would have been really nice, is to just like not have to worry about that. But
such is life. Yeah. Would you like to further broach some of those ideas you had in a future title, or were they things that you would kind of only make sense within this project?
I mean, there's stuff you could probably rework into other like games and whatnot, but like one of the biggest things was obviously if you get like one ending of the game in its current state, it leaves the door open to then add in more stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like sort of down the line is like, DLC or whatever, but like that then implies that the game is going to be popular enough to then receive said DLC. And the same was for Nightlight. We had like an extra sort of little area planned that I'd sort of come up with when we were doing all the initial, like, hey, come up with a creature and a reason for them existing. And I was like, hey, this could be really cool. And we were like, yeah, it would, but it's very different to the rest of the game.
I mean, we got halfway through production at that point, and we had to take stock of like how much time we had, and we had to sit down and make those decisions to be like, okay, can we do this? Can we not? Does it make sense for it to be in there? It's not. It's got to get cut, and it got cut.
I was the first to put my hand up and say, like, yeah, I know it's different, which is why I designed it that way. So cut it if we got to cut it. But yeah, like, so there's always sort of stuff that like will end up on the chopping room floor that would have been, cool to have and could potentially get branched off into something else. But like story wise, obviously it'll have to be kind of different if it becomes its own full separate game. But like, yeah, like I could definitely see different aspects of like, hey, you wake up back out of stasis and there's another issue that you have to go and fix in X room on the ship or in X location, and that becomes its own little like 20-minute $2 add-on, whatever. And it's just like in there you can add some more world building and stuff like that, and reference other things in the full game and whatnot. Like, I think that would probably be the extent of what we'd be able to do for this one, if it ever gets to that point, which would be really cool. Don't get us wrong. Like, I'd love to make $1 bajillion and add in the full rest of the ship and fully customized NPCs and all this sort of stuff. But like, it's got to get there.
Sure.
Which, yeah. Plus, I think we've worked on it that long now that we're ready to kind of work on something else. So to recycle not lost stuff from this, but like to recycle anything from here would then just kind of be like continuing to work on it. So I think a bit of a break would be nice. Yeah, it's been 2 years. Ready to play with something new.
So obviously, besides the whole audio stuff and voice actors, which a whole different issue. If you wanted to complete the ship and do all of this stuff, like if you wanted to, let's say you just said, okay, we're gonna keep doing this until everything is done with the team that currently is working on it. How long more do you think that would have taken?
Oh, at least 6 months. I would say. Maybe more.
And that's like base level. So all the testing of it all and whatnot, like chuck on an extra couple of like on top of that, and you're probably looking at like 8 to 10. Which is funny because the initial plan for the full game was going to be the 2 years, which is what we've now ended up taking with it. But because of wait to hear back from funding and play with this and scope down, because obviously we don't have the time to take it the full way, but now we've ended up sort of pushing that further and further for testing, going to cons, getting feedback, all that sort of stuff. We've kind of ended up at the point where it was like, well, if we had just sort of sat in our rooms for 2 years and, not faffed around at all, we'd have the full thing anyway. But the way that things are sort of played out, it's not the reality. But yeah, if we were to add all of that stuff in, easily like another probably good 8 to 10 months, I think, with all the testing and extras and whatnot. It's like 6 for base content, because I could model out the rest of what we had probably like a month per room, I think is kind of where we were at. Like it takes like a week to 2 weeks to like model it, and then a bit after that to texture it and revisions and whatnot. But then functionality and all the mechanics and stuff, that's where the massive time sink comes in.
All the testing that comes after that too.
Exactly. So it's funny, like I could sit here for the next month and a bit and probably smash out like 2 rooms if I wanted to. But then handing that over and being like, hey, now you guys have all of this work to do,
right,
is where the bigger issue comes in. Which is why when we were sort of at the point of, okay, if we don't get this funding, how do we plan for that? We sort of scoped it in of like, okay, well, here's this room and this thing that would happen in the bad ending anyway. And like stuff that would be required to go to said room and blah, blah, blah to begin with. Let's have this as the backup. And then if we get the funding, brilliant. Like, we'll still use all that stuff anyway. But if not, at least we've got a finished product that we can then say, cool, we've managed to like tie in a cohesive story.
Right.
And obviously I'm glad that we did that because unfortunately things have gone the way they've gone. But yeah, like all of that only took us like a few months between then, and that was like big room, all those mechanics, and then the various sort of endings and stuff to play around with. But yeah, it's like, you know.
So I presume this is the AvCon was the last con it's going to be shown at before release. There's nothing else to come up.
Yeah,
I believe so. Yeah.
So with that being the case, and with that being the sort of last time you're going to have like this big, demo of people like directly in front of you, where you can like directly ask them questions as they're going through it. Obviously, you can test with friends and all this sort of stuff. But what sort of was the response from AvCon? What are issues that were discovered? Obviously, you didn't have anything major breaking from the way it sounds, which is good. Good being this close to release. But what issues did people find? And not just that, what did people actually like about the state things were in?
I think the biggest thing that sort of we found that people found was just like the direction of some stuff in terms of like whether that be instruction or like overall navigation of certain areas. They were struggling with a little bit. But obviously in the con environment, you've got all of the other noise and stuff. So it's one of those biased bits of feedback where we have to analyze that as well and say like, okay, is this a genuine issue of, okay, these people can't work out what they're doing? Or is it a thing of they can't really hear what's going on to hear the instruction as a result of, the main stage having, anime stuff going on.
Right. Like any points about like atmosphere at the con, you can't. That useless comments when you have music blaring and all this, or people yelling everywhere around you. Like, it's the worst possible environment to try and see if the atmosphere is hitting with people.
Ironically, like, we did have a few comments on like, yeah, you guys have hit like atmosphere and stuff. I felt really like immersed and stuff and all that sort of stuff, which is really good to hear because that's obviously one of the biggest parts of what we're trying to go for. But yeah, like metrics in terms of like what people liked. Like we've got like a list of like, I think 80% of the people actively ticked that they liked the visuals and the environment and, the mechanics and stuff like that, where it's like the overall experience they enjoyed. There was only one person that outlined they weren't a big fan of the mechanics, and I think they said that it was just kind of like really simple. But there's also a thing of like, we're a 4-man team, we can't go super complex with stuff, and we're trying to play to that in terms of how we design
what we're doing. Play to your strengths, really.
Yeah, exactly. So like we can make a really cool environment and we can make you feel immersed because we know we could do that from the previous game. So like taking that and the stuff that we didn't do well in the last game, which we found out about the hard way, we chose to move away from and not do, which was, enemy AI and, shooting and combat and all that sort of stuff. Like it didn't work well in the last one. It was very clunky. So we focused more on, okay, well, let's just have them in the world and play to the fact that like they are stranded and alone and all that sort of stuff, which we seem to be hitting, which is cool. And then, yeah, it's just like keep it simple in terms of the other stuff because we can't go super complex. And if it's a problem for some people, unfortunately, it is kind of what it is. But overall, it doesn't seem to be a huge sticking point, which is nice.